The arena fell silent as the massive gates groaned open. Lyra emerged from the darkness, her scaled body rippling with iridescent colors that shifted between deep crimson and violet. Each of her four eyes glowed with an ancient hunger that had terrified countless species across the galaxy. The Zentari slavers had captured her 3 cycles ago, and since then, she had become their ultimate executioner, a living weapon that disposed of those deemed worthless. Today's offering was different. Evan stumbled into the arena, his small human frame barely reaching half the height of the towering aliens who jeered from the observation platforms above. The 8-year-old boy had been separated from his colony ship during a raid, the only survivor among his family. The Zentari had debated his fate for days before deciding he was too small for labor, too young for ransom, and ultimately, worthless. Lyra's massive head lowered toward the child, her breath creating small dust storms in the arena sand. Her jaws, capable of crushing starship hulls, opened slowly. The crowd roared in anticipation, but Evan didn't run. Instead, he reached into the torn pocket of his colony jumpsuit and pulled out something small. A protein bar, slightly melted and crushed, but still wrapped in its silvery packaging. The boy's hands trembled as he held it up toward the dragon's enormous snout. "You must be hungry too," Evan whispered, his voice barely audible over the crowd's bloodlust. Lyra froze. In all her centuries of existence across hundreds of worlds and thousands of battles, no prey had ever offered her anything. They ran, they fought, they screamed, but they never showed compassion. Her 4 eyes focused on the tiny morsel in the child's outstretched hand, then shifted to his face. There were tears there, but no hatred. Only a profound sadness and an inexplicable kindness. The dragon's massive claw moved forward with surprising gentleness. She could have disintegrated the boy with a single swipe, but instead, she carefully took the protein bar between 2 talons. The arena fell deathly quiet. Lyra brought the offering to her mouth and consumed it, wrapper and all. The taste was foreign, processed, entirely inadequate for her biology. But the gesture behind it was something she recognized from a life long forgotten, before she became a weapon, before the chains and the fighting pits. The boy smiled through his tears. "My mom always said sharing food makes friends." Something ancient stirred in Lyra's consciousness. She had been a person once, not just a monster. Her species had been explorers, philosophers, artists. The Zentari had stolen that from her, replacing it with rage and hunger. But this small human, facing certain death, had given her something infinitely more valuable than sustenance. He had given her dignity. The dragon lowered her massive body to the ground, curling protectively around Evan. The crowd's cheers turned to confused murmurs, then to angry shouts. The Zentari overseers activated the neural pain collars embedded in Lyra's spine, sending waves of agony through her nervous system. She roared but didn't move. Instead, she extended her wings over the boy, shielding him from the weapons fire that began to rain down from above. Evan pressed against her scaled chest, feeling the rapid thrum of her triple hearts. "Thank you," he whispered. That gratitude broke something in Lyra, or perhaps fixed something that had been broken long ago. With a surge of will she didn't know she still possessed, she channeled her bioelectric energy not outward in attack, but inward. The neural collars exploded in sparks and smoke. For the first time in 3 cycles, she was free. The arena erupted into chaos. Lyra's roar shook the foundations of the structure as she launched skyward. Evan clutched gently in her claws. Weapons fire followed them, but her scales deflected most of it, and her aerial agility evaded the rest. She crashed through the arena's energy dome, shattering it like glass, and soared into the alien sky. Below, alarms blared and ships began to launch, but Lyra had already calculated their trajectory. She had been forced to memorize every detail of this forsaken station during her captivity, including the location of the maintenance tunnels and the automated cargo vessels that departed every solar hour. She dove toward the loading docks, setting Evan down briefly inside an empty cargo container bound for neutral space. "You gave me back myself," she said, her voice a deep rumble that resonated in multiple harmonics. "I will not forget this debt, small human." Evan grabbed her claw before she could leave. "Come with me. We can both escape." Lyra's eyes softened, all 4 of them. "I must finish what you started, young one. There are others here still in chains, but I will find you again when the stars align. This I vow." Before Evan could protest, Lyra sealed the container and marked it with a claw strike, a symbol that in her language meant precious cargo, protected by fire. Then she turned back toward the station, her body igniting with bioluminescent fury. The Zentari had made her a weapon. This human child had reminded her she could choose her targets. As the cargo vessel departed, carrying Evan toward safety, Lyra descended upon the slave pits. Her roar was no longer one of mindless rage, but of purposeful rebellion. One by one, she shattered the collars and cages, freeing species from a dozen worlds. The station burned behind them as an improvised fleet of freed prisoners scattered into the cosmos. In the days that followed, stories spread across the galaxy, tales of a dragon who remembered kindness and a human child whose compassion had sparked a revolution. The Zentari Empire would never recover from that day, their cruelty finally meeting consequences, and somewhere in neutral space, Evan clutched a single iridescent scale that had fallen into his container, a promise that friendship could exist between the most unlikely of souls, and that sometimes the smallest act of kindness could change the fate of worlds.